අයිබෝන්
මම මියුට් වෙලා ඉතින් අයිබෝන් සමාවෙන්න.
වැදගත් දවසක් මේ ෆෝමියුලා 1 එකේ වීකෙන්ඩ් එකත් එක්ක ඔස්ට්‍රේලියන් වීකෙන්ඩ් එකත් ඉවර කරලා එහෙමම මේ අලුතෙන් අලුත් වීක් එකත් එන්න එක්කම අපි සෑහෙන දේවල් රේසිං සීන් එකේ අලුත් වුණානේ.
අලුත් වුණා සහ ෆෝමියුලා 1 සීසන් එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් උඩු යටිකුඩු වෙලා තියෙන එක පාරද නේද?
ඉතිරිමක් ඇති වෙලා තියෙන අර.
රේසස් 4-5කට කලින් තිබ්බ සිටුේෂන් එක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් වෙනස් වෙලා මාර ලොකු ඉන්ට්‍රස්ටිං වෙලා තියෙනවා රේසස් ඔක්කොම ෆෝමියුලා 1 ෆලෝ කරන කට්ටිය දන්නවා ඉතින් මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා මේ දවස්වල අපිත් ගොඩක් එක්සයිටඩ් ඒක මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා සීසන් එක අන්තිම වෙද්දී එහෙම වෙන එක හොඳයි එතන ස්පෝර්ට් එකට මේ ගොඩක් එන්ජොයි කරන්න පුළුවන් රෙඩ් බුල් ෆෑන්ස්ලා එහෙම ගොඩක් මේ දවස්වල එන්ජොයි කරනවා කියලා පේනවා වැඩේ නියමයි දැන් මේ දවස්වල අපි මේ ෆෝමියුලා 1 ගැන කතා කරන්න හේතුවකුත් තියෙනවා කොහොමද නේද එකපාරට
පැහැදිලිවම ලොකු හේතුවක් තියෙනවා මොකද මේ අපි දැන් අද අපේ ගෙස්ට් ෂෝ එකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන ගෙස්ට් ඇවිල්ලා ලංකාවේ ෆෝමියුලා 1 සඳහා දැන් තියෙන්න පුළුවන් බලාපොරොත්තුවක් කිව්වොත් වැරදි නැහැ.
අනිවාර්යයෙන් අපිට තියෙන බොහොම පොසිටිව් ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩක් පොටෙන්ෂල් එකක් තියෙන බලාපොරොත්තුවක් ඒක මේ අපි වැඩි ප්‍රෙෂර් එක නොදායමු එයාගේ පාඩුවේ එයාගේ වැඩේ එයාගේ යන ජර්නි එක යන්න ඉඩ තියලා මොකද අපි වැඩි ප්‍රෙෂර් කරන එක හරි නෑනේ අපි එහෙනම් අපේ ගෙස්ට් ගේන්න කලින් පොඩි වීඩියෝ එකක් තියෙනවා මම ගොඩක් කට්ටිය අපේ මේ පෝස්ට් එක දැම්මාම දන්න කට්ටිය දන්නවා ගොඩක් අය මේ අපිත් එක්ක පේජ් එකේ වැඩිපුර ඉන්න කට්ටියත් අහලා හරි තියෙනවා අඩුම ගානේ එයා ගැන වැඩි අවබෝධයක් ගන්න අපි මේ වීඩියෝ චුට්ටක් බලමු.
But who will win it and which order? Watch out for the hairpin with number 9. That was very close actually as Sonny Smith tried to align himself around the inside of the leader. And watch out for David who goes through. So there's a switch between the teammates. Maybe he was faster. He has a chance himself, but the time is running out for trying to go for the leader.
So Yevan David making a good tactical decision there to get into second position on the inside of Sonny Smith. Final lap begins and it's Keanu Bloom in front of Yevan David, Sonny Smith, August Turbo and Maxon Verbruge. So a brilliant little tussle with these guys as they continue. Yevan David, the young man from Sri Lanka, up into second position. Certainly the highest anyone from his nation has ever run in international karting competition. Great to see him do such a good job flying the flag for his fledgling nation as Keanu Bloom holds on to the lead. But can Yevan David become the first ever Sri Lankan to take an international karting victory at this level? He's certainly close to it. And the youngster is pushing very hard indeed. There might be another chance from Sonny Smith to close up on his teammate and go for the position. But Yevan David is close to Keanu Bloom. Bloom is defending. Yevan David needs to try and catch him unawares. He's going to try and slingshot him into the final corner. The slightest of love taps into the final bend. Oh, and Yevan David tries to make the move on the inside of Keanu Bloom. He gets alongside him. Sonny Smith's going to come through alongside. And it is going to be Yevan David who gets it. Yevan David in front of Sonny Smith and Keanu Bloom. Yevan David makes history for Sri Lanka, the first ever winner from his nation in a brilliant battle to the flag. It may only be a qualifying heat. Oh, we've had a spin on the line.
Whoa.
2 or 3 carts going off together and now facing the wrong way as they came across the finish line. So a very dramatic end to the race there for Albin Storesen and Zander Reed. I think it's those two that have come together on the final lap of the race. But Yevan David makes history for the nation of Sri Lanka to get the first win at this level in OK Junior. I'm fairly sure he is the first ever OK Junior race winner from Sri Lanka. Excellent job.
So Yevan David. Kolisa, every time I watch this I get goosebumps.
I was just going to say every single time. Right? It's amazing. It's really amazing. So Yevan, how are you? How are things?
Yeah, everything's all right. Yeah, it's quite relaxing at the moment. Yeah, just trying to get my head straight for the next couple of races.
Okay.
Kohli,
let's talk about.
Yeah, sorry. First of all, we'll tell the audience where he is based. He's based in Italy. Yevan based in Italy. ඉටලි වල බේස් වෙලා ඉඳගෙන එයාගේ අධ්‍යාපන කටයුතු සහ මේ රේස් ට්‍රේනින් සහ රේසස් වලට සහභාගී වෙන්නේ මෙයා. ඒක අපි මුලින්ම කියලා ඔඩියන්ස් එකට අපි පටන් ගමු. So yeah, Kohli.
Oh, yeah, Yevan, let's start with little. Just tell us a little about you. Basically, how old are you?
So I'm 13 at the moment. I'm living in Italy with the guardian who's taking care of me. My family is back in Singapore. My parents are there. And I'm just based in Italy right now for the year. And I go back to my home in November. I'm staying here because it's just easier to go to the races from Italy than fly from Asia and back for the races. So that's why I'm currently based
Back
here.
and forth. Right. And your studies, how are you managing with your studies?
So since I'm traveling every week or so for races, I do an online school and get all my work done sometimes between race weekends and usually on my off days when I'm not driving. So it's a lot easier to get work done with an online school because if I go to a real school, I'm missing almost 70% of the school time.
Okay. But right now, Ish, there's no difference, no? Right now, everybody's going to online school.
I was just thinking because it's high time now, no? Everyone has moved on to online schooling, so there's not much difference between other kids in this time of the year. So,
How old were you when you got into karting, Yan? First of all, for the first time, when you started driving karting, how old were you?
Well, the first ever time I was 5 years old, and it was in Sri Lanka that I started driving for the first time, and I just really liked it. You know, it was a very good feeling inside me when I sat in the go-kart and drove around the track. So then when I went back to Singapore, where my home is, I asked my father if I could start driving professionally. And then I started practicing every weekend in 2014, and I was able to race at 2015 at 7 years old.
So let's start from there, Yevan. So you said you were on a kart at the age of 5, right?
Yes.
So how did that happen? Is your family involved in racing, or what's the background there?
My father did a little bit of local racing when he was younger, but he never had the budget or anything like that to race professionally and globally like I'm doing. So when I heard about that, we tried go-karting for the first time at, like I said, when I was 5 years old, and then it sort of just went from there.
Right. Okay.
Right. So if you can tell us about your dad, what's his name?
So he's Johan David, and currently he's in Singapore with my mom and my brothers and sister. And yeah, he mainly helped me a lot in the early stages of my career, and he's still working a lot to try and help me, but he's put a lot of effort in. And yeah, now it's sort of me with my guardian here who's taking care of me right now instead of my parents. But they're still working a lot in Singapore to try and invest more in racing and try and push me further in the next couple of years.
Yeah, Ish, as you can see, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scene, no?
Definitely. So
yes, this is something we also we again the whole idea of FitPass is also means we want to bring. So the back end, Rehan, your preparation for each race, how does that work? How does your prep routine work? Yeah, Ishan.
Yeah, we'll join. I mean, you can answer that question with how you got there. You at the moment now you are in Italy. How you when you came to Italy first, and how did that start? And Kohli, uh,
Yeah.
you can
So
answer that question with whatever Kohli
So
have
maybe we
asked.
start with how did you get to Italy and how did that how
How
was that
long are you there for?
yeah, how long ago?
So I came to Italy at the start of the year, at the end of January, and
Hmm.
I moved here with my dad, and he stayed for about a month, and then he went back to Singapore. And then
Hmm.
from about March, I was living with my guardian and traveling to the races with my guardian. And
Okay.
most of the time, like I said, every week or so we're traveling. So about 30% of the time, I'm actually in my guardian's house. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of packing. It's sort of like I'm living off a bag in terms of like clothes and everything. And so yeah, that's the whole story.
So how did that feel? So is this the first time that you're away from your family, or are you used to this kind of a thing? I don't think, because you're still 13, right? Is this the first time?
Yeah, this is the first time I've actually like not lived with them or stayed with them for more than like the 2 or 3 weeks. So it was a bit hard at first, but then I got used to it.
Hmm. How's the food over there?
Yeah, enjoying the food, but I miss the food back at home, like curry and biryani, and I miss all that. I haven't had it in a long, long time.
But I
Also
think
the diet.
yeah, cool.
Sorry?
He must be on a diet for the program
That's
as well.
A
I
little
think
bit of
so.
a diet. Can't like not eating, for example, McDonald's every day or something like that. Just sometimes keep it a little bit light. But in the past, I've actually ate a lot and not been on a diet, and I'm still like super skinny. So
Hmm.
nothing is happening at the moment.
So Yevan, were you born in Sri Lanka, or
So I was actually born in England because my parents went to university in the UK and they
right?
had me there. And then when I was about 3 years old, I moved to Singapore. But yeah,
Hmm.
about twice a year, I visit Sri Lanka, every single year. And then,
Right.
except obviously this year and last year because of COVID. But, I'm still, like all
Hmm.
my parents, I mean, sorry, my grandparents and all my cousins, they're all in Sri Lanka. It's just
Right.
my siblings and my parents that are in Singapore.
Yeah.
Right.
So Kohli, before getting into racing, I mean proper race chat, Ivan, how is it there as a Sri Lankan with the team that you are associating over there in the academy in Italy? How do you? What's the feedback? What's the feedback from the other competitors? Being a Sri Lankan, how is it like there?
It's actually it's a quite a nice feeling because no one's ever done it for Sri Lanka,
Mm.
and about
Like, yeah,
60% of the people here don't know or a lot about Sri Lanka. So when I
Right.
was winning or close to the top at the FIA Academy race, after day one, they were all questioning what Sri Lanka is like, where is it located, like that. So
Hmm.
it really spreads the word about Sri Lanka, which is what I like.
Absolutely.
exactly. Kohli,
So
Kohli, if you remember, I don't know whether you can remember. When you go there in Europe, when you say Sri Lanka, I don't know, Yevan, correct me if I'm wrong. This is what I have experienced. When you say Sri Lanka, most of the people think it's a part of India, right?
Yeah. Yes.
They, they think it's India. So even when you point out to the map, also they say, yeah, it's India. No, no, just zoom in. There's a small country. It's
Yeah.
isolated. It's separate.
Yeah.
It's
this
Sri Lanka. It's a
happened. This
different.
happened. Ish, this happened for you and when you were in Europe to yourself, right? With Atlanta and
Yeah,
them.
that's right. That's right. I just want, because uh, we just want to prove ourselves, because I just want to prove the point that it's a different country, because they don't get with the
Yeah.
color and all that. because India is much bigger. So I think that's why I asked that question because as a normal person, that's all right. But when you're competing with the team and the feedback is different, that's why I wanted to ask
Absolutely.
you how it feels.
Any
Yeah,
other Asians in your academy even?
there's a couple of Asians. There's like I think 2 or 3 from Singapore that I know very well,
Hmm.
and I
Okay.
think there's about 3 or 4 from like Japan or China, but not
Hmm.
really, more than
Right.
15 from Asia or
No,
10.
not South Asia.
So
No, not really. Not in
yeah.
South. Right.
Yeah, cool. Let's get
So let's
into
talk
serious
about the academy.
captain.
What's the background
Yeah.
of the academy? Yeah. So let's talk about the academy and the academy that you represent and how does that process work?
So the FIA Academy, I've never actually done it before, and no one's ever done it for Sri Lanka, like I said. And basically, how
Yeah.
it works, it's one person from they get selected from their country. So it's one, and there's no teams. It's basically you represent your country, and there's no teammates or anything like that. So and everything is fair because there's no teams, right? So everyone
But
has the same car, same engines, same setup. So it's the best of who can win in everything equal. So that uh, series really proves who can actually be the best, and you get to do it for your country as well.
Right. So from that to like now you have a clear path, right? You have already set a clear path of what you're going to do. Now from this to getting to your next level, what's the how does it look like? Or what's the next step in your progression?
So the next step, basically, I'm in the 12 to 14 category, the junior category, and then the next category, which I'm going into next year, is the 15 and over category, which is the senior category, and it's the category that you want to do 1 or 2 years before you go into cars, because it's the category where you're not racing with people your age, but you could be racing with people 5 or 10 years older than you. So that really, it really prepares you for open wheelers, sorry. So
Hmm.
looking to do 1 year of that next year in 2022, and then try and get seats in Formula 4 or Formula Renault, which is pretty similar, in 2023.
Right. So, Yevan, just for our information, I was told apparently there's a difference between the CIK Academy and the European Championship. What's the difference, Yevan?
So the difference is the CIK European Championship it's basically teams. It's not you represent your own country with each driver. So the European Championship has 4 rounds, and it's Belgium, France, Italy, and Spain. And I've already completed the Belgium and French races, and the next 2 rounds are in within the next 3 weeks in Italy and Spain. So the European
Right.
Championship, you're with the team, and everyone uses a different car because of the different teams. So it's a little bit different to FIA Academy, where it's all the same car and it's all fair, but it's run by the same organizers and the same officials.
So the car spec is different, is it?
Yes.
Right. So let's talk about the cart a little bit. If you can guide us through the specification of the cart, Teshan, no? Because this
Yeah,
is
so
something
I'm not.
completely new. We don't at that level.
As far as I know, it's a Tony Carter. I don't know that right.
Yeah.
That's all I
So
know.
basically, yeah, the cart I use is, yeah, basically there's 3 carts that is under the same spec of chassis. There's the Tone cart, the Cosmic, and the Expiry chassis. And these 3 chassis are called the OTK chassis. So the team that I'm with, Forza, uses an X3 chassis, which is the same thing as a Cosmic or Thunder. It's all OTK. So the team I'm with is Forza, and they use everyone uses the same engine. It's the same spec, obviously, but then there's obviously different teams like Kart Republic or Praga or Fernando Alonso team, which have different chassis that could be better at different tracks or corners, or worse at different tracks or corners. So it's really up to you to decide what team you're in. But obviously, there's different offers and different prices. So it really depends on 50% on how much money you have, and the other 50% whether you're smart enough to pick the right team.
He mentioned an interesting name. He mentioned Fernando Alonso. What's that? What do you mean by that? Like, does he have his own karting brand or?
So he has his own karting team and chassis. So they use the Fernando Alonso kart, and there's about maybe 20 people in his team. But it's not only him that has his own kart. You know, there's also Charles Leclerc chassis. There's also a Daniel Ricciardo chassis, and I can't think of any more. But you know, they have their own chassis, and people join their team and drive for their chassis.
And the engine is a 2-stroke or a 4-stroke?
It's a 4-stroke.
So
Right.
in this academy, so in your training, is it only focused on driving, or it's a overall? Is it an overall thing, like technicalities of the car, the tuning, and all that? And is it a full package, or how does that work over there?
So the academy, you can in normal European Championship, you can change a lot of parts of the car: the front, the back, the engine, the seat position, to help the car adapt to what you like. But in the academy, it's very little that you can change, and there's not much variation you can do. So you just have to adapt, and everyone uses the same thing, and that shows the raw pace, basically.
So
It's completely full power.
yeah, in this training, you get a.
Yes.
It's not all about driving itself, so you get a overall picture of the cart and everything, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Interesting. So ගෙදර ඉනම් බලාගෙන ඉන්න කට්ටියටත් දැන් මේ වෙලාවේ ගලප් බලන්න පුළුවන් නේද දේශන්? මොකද මේ අපි ජාත්‍යන්තරයට යන්න ඕනේ කිව්වට ජාත්‍යන්තරයට යන එක කොච්චර අමාරුද කියලා නේද?
Exactly. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි යවාන්ගෙන් මේක දැනගමු මේ කියන්නේ how competitive is this over there for you? So you have first hand experience over there. How competitive is it over there? How,
For sure, here in Europe, it's the highest edition compared to anywhere.
exactly. Yeah.
Like in Asia, there's the competition is quite lower because not because the drivers are less bad, but there's like less entries as well. So there's a lot less people to beat. But when you come to Europe, everyone goes there, and it's the best people there. So the competition for sure is at its highest.
And for you to enter the sport, Yevan, was there a qualification, or was there a qualification test or something that you had to comply with?
To enter the championship, you just needed to have a license, and how you get the license is basically at a young age or anytime really. You just have to take this sort of driver's test or pace test to see if you know everything and you know how to race properly. And then if you score high enough, you get your license and you're able to race in pretty much any championship in the world.
Right. Okay. So that gives you a little sense of pride, I suppose. But on the flip side, it also makes it very competitive for anybody else to get into the sport as well, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now, where are you in the championship, Yevan? Oh.
In the FIA Academy Championship, so far it's only one round, so I'm fourth in the championship because I won the first two heats and there was a crash in the last heat. So I started
Right.
11th in the final, and I finished fourth. So since it was the first round, where you finished there is where you won the championship. So I'm fourth, and the next round is in about 5-6 weeks.
Right. So you're currently running two seasons, two championships, is it?
Three actually. There's the WSK Championship, which has just finished, and then there's the CIK European Championship and the Academy Championship.
Okay.
So, Yevan, there's a guest. We have a little surprise. We didn't tell you about this. There's a good friend of yours. I just want to call him a friend of yours rather than anything
Really?
else.
Get his face.
Because
Look at his
I
face.
strongly believe that I strongly believe that he's more of a friend. So let's see who it is.
Hi,
Hi, Yevan.
guys. Hi.
Hey,
How are
Yevan.
you?
Thank you.
He doesn't-
Thank you for the invitation.
No problem.
Our pleasure.
It's a
Our
privilege to have
pleasure.
you. So
Yevan,
you
you
are
can
in
say hi.
Singapore right now.
Yeah.
We were just doing his
Sorry.
homework just before this interview, so starting off from there.
So he just switched to homework mode.
Gotcha.
So Johan, at the moment, so you're based in Singapore, right?
Yeah. So we moved to Singapore in 2011 when Yevan was 4 years
Right.
old. And like he said, we go home quite often because both my parents and Yevan's my wife's parents, sister, brother, all live back in Sri Lanka. So for us, home is back there. Singapore is where we work. So yeah, we've been living here since 2011.
Right. So Johan, as a parent, as a father, how do you feel now? We were talking to Johan, and Yevan said that it's the first time. Obviously, it's the first time being 13-year-old. He's out there in Europe all by himself. So, how, as a parent, let's talk about that aspect. How do you feel, and to take that decision? We are not grown up in that way in our region. So.
No, correct. And it was an extremely hard decision. It's one that we delayed for as long as we could, because I think a few friends of ours sent their kids a little bit earlier, and for us, we wanted to, he's never been away from us. We didn't feel comfortable about it, and essentially, it was last year when he turned 13. He gained a certain level of maturity, and this year was his final year in junior before he had to go senior. So we spoke to him about it. He also was quite interested and was willing to go. So it helped that he was in the right frame of mind as well and comfortable with the idea.
So, how do you think, from your angle, how do you think he's doing that? How well, or how is he taking it?
For us, we're extremely. I think it's harder for us, both of us, and the brothers and the sister. We haven't seen him in a long time now. I think he's doing for us extremely well, both in terms of coping with the situation and also on track. He's achieving the goals he's set out for himself, and it's a proud moment to see him flying the flag for Sri Lanka. It's something he's been wanting to do as well, and he's been working hard for it. So extremely proud of him from that perspective. 100%. We miss him 100% as well, but we're very proud of it.
Exactly. That's why I asked that question, because being a parent, being a dad, I think I know how it feels. So that's why I was very, I wanted to ask you that question, uh, because it's very difficult to take that decision, but we know it's for a good cause, but we all like
Yeah.
it's a very tough decision.
Race weekends, I think I more every race weekend. The rest of the time, life's a little bit calmer, but race weekends are definitely a lot more stressful.
Yes. Kohli?
Okay. So no, what I was thinking was like, the two of y'all can relate to this, but that ability for Johan to make that decision and send Yevan for a greater good. How would you, like, from as a parent's perspective, there's a very very interesting message there, Ishan, where how
Hmm.
Johan can share his experience so that other parents also could actually see, or you can see the child's
Hmm.
potential, and whether how can they guide, because now when a child say he want to pursue a career in racing at a very young age,
Hmm.
right? Sometimes we get a little bit skeptical as well. How did you manage that part, Johan?
I mean, that's we tried with Yevan. Yevan tried a lot of sports before we got to karting. Part of that was because I'd done it back home and I knew the costs involved, so it was like, let's try something else before we get on to this, essentially. And we tried everything from rugby to football, and we were at David Pierce's track at the time in SLKC in Bandaragama, and he had to go on the BB
Bandaragaon, yeah.
cart, and he said, "This is it." So I think it helped that I had an interest in it as well, and we started from there. There, I'd be lying if I said there were moments where it wasn't tough, but I think with Yevan, he had the commitment, so we felt it was our duty, me and my wife, to support him and the whole family as well, grandparents, my sister and brother-in-law. Everybody's behind him in this, all the cousins. So it makes the decision a lot easier.
Right, because there's something always as a parent, it's a little challenging, I suppose. I mean, Eshan, my friend, he's a dad over there, so I know how much he misses the kids and how he wants the kids at home even when they visit their grandparents.
Yeah, that's in this part of the world,
So,
especially we are used to that kind of a
Correct. Correct.
environment, right? So
Yeah.
this is I want to bring that I wanted to bring that up because it's a very good approach, and it's a very good trend, because the with the world, like moving on, how with the world works, and with these pandemics and all that, everyone's getting distant and all that. So this helps you. I think I just wanted to give out a proper, like a message to the other parents also. So because there are a lot of potential, when you see a kid's potential, when you let him grow in that, this is the first hand experience to see how it works for you and for him.
because there's a
Exactly.
fear factor also, no?
Sorry.
There's a fear factor also about his studies and like his
Yeah.
future, all that. So there's a lot of as a parent, there's a lot of fear involved. So it's important.
Hmm.
That's why we just want a little bit more stress on that, Johan, because how a parent who's watching would actually be inspired on making a decision as such.
Yeah, and so when we looked at
So
this,
yeah.
I mean, so we had a number of factors to think about. I mean, the racing part of it aside, studies was a big thing because at 13 going to 14, you're getting to the point where you're looking at O levels next and then A levels. So we took a lot of time to think about what we could do for schooling, and actually, the initial decision was to base him out of the UK in boarding school there. Um, but then when the UK went into lockdown, we looked at alternative options, and the school he's currently attending was recommended to us by a couple of friends of ours from the Philippines who had switched to it last year, and they found it very good. It's pretty much assignment based, but it follows the O-level and A-level stream. And it was originally for distance learning, and then evolved into it tends to be used for athletes who travel quite frequently. We found the good thing about that is you're able to spend more time on the studies when you're in your off time accordingly. That's one. Yevan and understanding on sorry, we've always had an open understanding on studies have to go along with the racing, because as you know, motorsport is one of those fields that 9 times out of 10 it could not lead to Formula One, to be very honest, and you're better off pursuing your education so you can take it to the next stage, earn your own money, and then go racing if this path doesn't work out.
Yeah. So this is where the discipline comes in. I think this is the time that we all talk about discipline, especially in sports. So we all know what we are dealing with at the moment with discipline. So in this case, if you have the proper discipline, little while ago, you mentioned that you and Yevan was doing like following up the homework. So so that's discipline. In my what I feel is that's a proper discipline when you have a way that you have a system running properly. Distance is not a problem, I think.
Yeah, no, and that's the key. I think that's one of the things that when we Yevan's always been very good. I think a lot has to be said for the school he was in Singapore as well. They guided him. They encouraged a lot of independent learning. So for him to take that next step into going into online learning on his own, Yevan, would you agree that made it more straightforward than had you been in a more traditional school where you were told what to learn rather than left to figure it out on your own to a large extent? In a good way, of course. Yevan, do you feel that Chatsworth helped you in your online learning?
Yeah, most of the stuff that I cover in the online school, I've learned around half of it in the previous school.
Right.
And
So
I think the other...
Is there a lag? Because I feel there's a little lag. Corey, can you hear me properly now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Yeah. You were saying something.
I mean, having a routine and having some structure to your approach is important. So, I mean, he was always following his studies. He had a daily fitness routine which we had to follow, even when he wasn't racing. So we kept him fit for racing. So to move on, you're 100% right. I mean, keeping a routine and being stringent with that is essential in this. Otherwise, you lose the battle.
Right.
Yeah. So, Johan, just let us know a little bit about your racing background. What's your background into racing?
Mine's not much to talk about, to be very honest. I mean, the little racing I did was with back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when we used to race around this Independence Square, or there weren't tracks at the time. We used to roll up on a Sunday morning with our go-karts, and my best friend Yaqub bin Ahmed used to be my mechanic. So the two of us would turn up in his Land Rover, and then we'd go racing. We had 3 classes at the time. We had Yamahas, which are the most popular. We had national class, which was 5-port engines, and then we had the international, which is the 7-port, the fastest ones. And it was a good laugh. We had a good time at the time. But then, obviously, that didn't really go anywhere. And then, But I've been obviously I've been involved with most of the racing chaps locally, marshalling at events or going to events, etc. So
because I mean, Independence Square, that Independence Square karting track is pretty vintage. Eshan, have you seen the videos shared by NP
Yes,
on
yes, yes.
online?
Yes, I've
Pretty
seen some.
vintage. It's
yeah,
quite famous over there.
It was NP, Romani, myself, and Harsha that used to race together at the time, I think.
Right, there you go. Apparently, it has been there for some time. The Independence Square, that racing scene and karting
Yeah,
scene in Independence Square has been for some time.
Independence Square, and I think BMICH car park also they have done some stuff, right?
BMICH, yeah, correct. You had the Taj car park as well. A few
Oh,
people got
So
injured there, but yeah.
this is going to reveal how old Johan is.
Exactly. Yeah. Too old to do any of this now. I mean, what we used to drive were, at that time
Yeah.
we couldn't think of water-cooled engines. What Yevan drives now is it's a two-stroke water-cooled, right? These things are
Yeah.
these days are hitting 127 kilometers an hour down the straight.
Okay.
That's quite speed.
That's quite
Wow.
speed because, and I don't think that at that time, like no overalls or I think just the helmet would do by that time, right? At that time.
Yeah. I mean, going back to when we used to race, I think NP and me used to wear mechanics overalls with some leather patches sewn on the leather arm patches.
I've heard the story. That's why I asked. Right.
That's
So,
quite a
Cody,
challenge.
Yevan have been silent
Silent
for
for
some
some
time
time,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. He's trying to. I don't know whether he's trying to, but he is like this. I think when the father is around.
Yevan as a how is he? How is he like? Is he generally this silent?
Yeah, no, I think when he does tend to be quieter. I think he's more vocal when he's around his friends, or if I'm not here in the interview, probably. But I think so. Just to touch on a couple of topics Yevan was talking about earlier. So he's actually right now the two main championships he's doing is the European Championship and the CIK. So. Both are similar engines. The difference is in the European Championship, like he said, is in teams, and it's an open category. So you can use whatever chassis and engine as long as it meets the specifications, basically. So it's
Right.
Whereas the CIK Academy, everyone gets the same car, same engine, like he said. The sprockets you can use are only 3. The adjustments you can do are very little, so it comes down a lot to the driver. And actually, after every heat, they take the engine of the top 5 drivers and give it to the bottom 5.
Oh.
So if you win, you don't have the engine for the next heat, or if you qualify in the top 5, which is a little bit of a lottery.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. I was just trying to picture how it works.
I think
Pretty interesting stuff.
Yevan, you managed okay though last weekend when you even though that was happening, right? Did you feel that was a big difference in engines?
Yeah, for sure. Though it was quite uneven. It wasn't the most fair, like I was expecting it to be, but it was still they needed to fix it for the next round because it was quite uneven. Like in practice, I'd lose 10 kilometers per hour down the straight, and then for qualifying, I'd have a decent engine that was so much faster. So it was quite uneven, but never in the races did I have a completely slower engine.
How does the weight work, Johan? Now, we all know there's a weight limit also. So in this type of racing, how does
Yevan,
that
what
work?
is it for OKJ?
There's the weight limit is 140 kilos. So if your body weight is not enough, they put weight on the seat to reach the limit of 140.
140 kilograms.
That's
Yes.
cart and engine and driver.
Carbon and driver. Right.
At the end
So
of the
it
race.
has to. At
Sorry?
the end of the so you need to drive.
At the end of the race.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Right.
But so basically, all the cars they are going to drive, they are not only equal capacity, but they are also equal weight.
Yeah, they're equal weight as well.
So the power to the weight to ratio does not play a big factor in that case, don't you? Is it? No?
No, not in that event. It's equalized for that purpose to make it fair.
Right. So Yevan, now how does your training routine work? How do you train yourself, or does your do you do during your downtime? Do you do any other training like gymming or physical, or how does that work?
Yeah, I have usually daily workouts at home, just physical. And most of it is body weight because I can't really go to many gyms because they're closed and restricted for COVID. But I'm still actually getting quite a lot of training done, even on the off days, and usually warm ups before I start the day to go on track at a race weekend.
How long a race? The last Yevan, a normal race, the one we saw, kind of a race. How does it? What happens?
Well, a normal race is usually, it depends on how long the lap is. So, for example, if a lap would be around 45 seconds, it'd be a 17 or 18 lap final. Whereas if the lap time is around 55 seconds to a minute, it'd be like a 13 lap final. So it's not too big of a difference, but the ratio or the difference is around 17 to 21 laps in the final.
So you're looking at, for a heat
Right.
race, probably 10 to 12 minutes, and for a final, you're looking at 20 to 25 minutes on track.
Right.
I see.
Cool. I'm just
So
going
we have
through
come to
some comments.
the stream. Just to get a little bit more, I'm very curious because this is starting is as karting is not dangerous. Don't see. I mean, Auntie showed me some videos of carts flying. I also didn't believe this. So how do you manage? The fact obviously involved. Point. How do you manage the danger factor? How do you manage your mind? How does that work?
Usually when I go out on the track to race, I don't really think of crashing or getting hurt. Just usually think about getting the best position possible and nothing else. So, of course, we still have a lot of protection and a lot of precaution for crashes, but usually I don't ever think about crashing.
That's a very, very professional answer,
So you,
I love
no,
that.
it's actually. I mean, this is something very serious. This is something very serious,
Exactly.
and it's about how you keep your mind focused away from these factors as well. Time because it's preparedness. Yabani, for me, in what I see is at this stage he's ready to drive a Formula car, so his mind is ready. So that's something we need to take
Exactly,
out
because
to our audience also.
yeah, exactly. Once Johan, once I one when we were interviewing Dilanta Malagamo, what he normally says is in Sinhala he says Mugada, he used to bring the flag. I mean the national flag. He used to give the flag to one of us at the beginning of the race and ask us to come to the podium with the flag before the race is even started. So once we asked, and he was like in Sinhala, he said, "Mali race එක පටන් ගන්න කලින් දීලා ඉන්න ඕනේ, otherwise you can't." So that means Yevan, you have to win the race in your mind first, otherwise you're not going to do anything because it's not like overconfidence, but it's because being positive and being overconfident is two different things.
Yeah.
So that I think that helps you in particularly in racing. It helps you a lot. I think. So what do you say? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like more of the self-belief than confidence is quite important because if you have that, you will do what your mind believes. So if your mind believes that you can only get top 20, you'll finish around there. If your mind believes you can come top 5 or top 3, you will be there and get a podium. So it's all most of the racing or 80% is about the mind.
Exactly. So Kohli, it's time to wrap
Right,
up.
we have come. Yes, we have come to the end of the whole series. Yeah, Yevan, any future plans? What's the plan for this year so far? What do you have in store for us?
So this year, just another 3 weeks of racing in the next month, and then after that I have a bit of a break, 2 weeks, and then I race again in Italy, 2 weeks again, and then in Sweden, and then around 3 weeks until the World Championship, and then I'll finish for the year. So after the next 3 weeks, it really calms down and it's quite spread out. And then towards the end of January in 2022, I go back for another season in the senior category.
Hmm. And then you're planning to move into F4 in 2023.
Yes,
At that time, you'll be 16, yeah?
yes.
Brilliant. Okay.
So he needs to
Johan, any final? Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
Ivan.
Yevan needs to be 15 before he can race an F4 car. So he turns 14 next weekend actually.
Okay.
Next year, that's partly why there's two factors for doing okay next year. One is the racecraft. It's not really the results. What you learn in racecraft in senior karting is essential when you go into formulas. So the idea would be that he would start testing formulas, I mean, budget and sponsor dependent, throughout midway through next year, and then look to compete at the end of the year in the UAE series, which is kind of the initial start to the Formula 4 season. After that, it's unclear which series he'd participate in. Right now, the Premier Series are the Italian or German, but things could change by next year.
Right. Okay. Right, Evan. First of all, happy birthday in advance. In that case, uh, since you are celebrating the
Thank you.
birthday in the upcoming week, any birthday plans?
Not really, because the race, my birthday is on the finals day of the race. It's on the Sunday.
All right.
So hopefully it'll be a win. That's the birthday plan. But nothing really special or anything.
That's our plan for you as well, and that's our wish for you as well. Now, Ish, there's something really funny about this. Right now,
Yeah.
we for our birthday, when one of our birthdays come or when one of your son's birthdays come, we go karting, right? For our birthday.
Yeah. I know.
Right? Yevan have to stop karting for his birthday. That's
And
funny, right? Yevan,
but for good reasons, sir.
yeah, all the good reasons for him to go on. So right, Yevan, thank you very much for joining with us. Jan, anything else you need to add?
No, I just want to say, thank you very much for taking the time to interview Yevan today, and all the support. Thank you to all the fans who are watching as well as Niroshan and the Ceylon Motorsports Club for supporting him in terms of the licensing and everything else. Look, main thing is, like, he's out there, he wants to make the flag fly, so hopefully he gets more success at that, and then we're all happy at the end of the day. And
Exactly.
thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for
That
your
is our
time.
only wish.
Thank you for your time, and especially taking this particular decision to send him off as a father. We respect that
Yeah.
a lot. So he'll make his future and make us all proud. And Evan, finally, I just want to wish you all the best, and I don't want to pressure you, and I don't want to say that because putting more pressure onto you will be a problem. Like it's a burden. What I feel it's a headache for you. So you do what
Expectations,
you're.
building expectations. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you just relax and do what you're good at, and we know it will come out good, and you know that too. So for a brighter future, we wish you all the best, and God bless you. Thank you for
Yeah.
your time, and that's about it
And
from
remember,
me.
no, and remember, there's a whole of Sri Lanka there to support you and to lift you
Exactly.
up whenever you need because you are representing
Yeah.
our country. So whenever and
Exactly.
whatever you need, there's a whole nation behind you to support you at that highest level. And we only wish you well. We only pray that you achieve the best of your success. Ish, before we wrap up, any final remarks?
Yeah, that's about it, Kohli. That's about it. I just honestly, from the deepest point of my heart, I wish you all the best and enjoy your race.
Yeah.
And have a happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Johan.
Thank you
Thank
gentlemen.
you,
very much.
Yevan.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Night.
බලාගෙන ඉන්න හැමෝටමත් බොහොම ස්තුතියි. සුබ රාත්‍රියක් කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරනවා හැමෝටම. අපි ඒ සම්බන්ධ කරගත්තේ යෙවන් ඩේවිඩ් අපේ
Saha, Yohan,
යොහන් ඩේවිඩ් ඔහුගේ පියා සැහෙන කියන්නේ පොසිටිව් බලාපොරොත්තුවක් තියෙනවා මේ යෙවන් එයාගේ වයසට එයා හොඳටම මේ එයාගේ දක්ෂකම් පෙන්වන ගමන් ඉන්නේ. හින්දා අපි එයාට අපි ඔක්කොම එක්ක වෙලා සුබ පතමු. ලොකු ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් එයාට දෙන්න තු එයාගේ වයසත් එක්ක. එයාගේ වැඩේ එයා හරියට කරයි. අපේ ආශිර්වාද විතරක් අපි එයාත් එක්ක තියලා එයාට සුබ පතන්න කියලා තමයි ආරාධනා කරන්නේ. ඒ වගේම මේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ හැමෝටම පරිස්සමෙන් ඉන්න. කරුණා කරලා මොකද ප්‍රශ්න එහෙමමයි ප්‍රශ්න කියන්නේ මේ සිටුේෂන් එක. ඒකින්ද කරුණා කරලා අපි හැමෝම දන්න විදිහට මාස් ටික දාලා ඒ අවශ්‍ය විදිහට අවශ්‍ය දේවල් කරලා පරිස්සමෙන් ඉන්න බොහොම ස්තුතියි. සුබ රාත්‍රියක් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ වෙලාවටත් බොහොම ස්තුතියි අපිත් එක්ක වුණාට. Thank you very much. නම් Kohli, thank you.
Thank you, Eshan. බොහොම ස්තුතියි හැමෝටම ගෙදර ඉඳන් බලපිත් එක එකතු වුණා. ඉතින් අපි ඊළඟ පාර හම්බ වෙනකම් බලාගෙන ඉන්න සති දෙකකින් ෆෝමියුලා 1 මං හිතන්නේ ටර්කිද කොහෙද තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ වැදගත් දෙයක් තියෙනවා Eshan කියන්න මේ සිල්වර්ස්ටෝන් 100% occupancy එකත් එක්ක මේ පාර ඔව් මේ ඔඩියන්ස් එක එන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඉතින් ගොඩක් හොඳ දේවල් ජාත්‍යන්තර වශයෙන් ක්‍රීඩාවට එන අතරතුර අපිත් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙමින් ඉන්නේ කොයි වෙලේ හරි අපිටත් කාර් එකක් ස්ටාර්ට් කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා ලංකාව ඇතුළේ ට්‍රැක් එකක. So ඒ අපි එන්න තියෙන ලොකු බලාපොරොත්තුවත් එක්ක හැමෝටම ආයුබෝවන් සුබ රාත්‍රියක්. Eshan, good night.
Good night. සුබ රාත්‍රියක් හැමෝටම. Thank you.